How to make a 2D composition using geometric shapes. Before we start out, I'd like to say that whenever I am working on compositions, I always prefer to make tiny thumbnail sketches on the side where I create a few tiny compositions. Like I'm going to create a few options here, little variation. And then I'm going to pick the best one which works for me, and it's going to be drawn here in the final space. In this video, I am drawing it here directly just for demonstration purposes, but ideally this is the process to follow, that you first make thumbnail sketches and then you copy the best one in the final space. Okay, so now let's get into this video. I'm going to talk about the 5 tips that you should follow to make a good composition. 1 is variety of shapes. Always use a different variety of shapes. You can use a triangle, a square, a circle, a rectangle. So I always like to draw all the shapes that I'm going to use to one side, so I know that I have to include this in my composition. 2 is repetition and variation in size. So I'm going to create a square over here. Okay, so I'm going to make it say about this big. Now I'm going to repeat this square, but I'm also going to create a variation in size. So let me just draw a smaller square over here, which is say about this big. So this is how you create a little variation in size as well as repetition. 3 is rotate and overlap. So always rotate your shapes a little bit. I'm going to take this triangle, but I think I'm going to rotate it out a little bit, and I'm going to overlap it with both these squares. So I'm going to put it say roughly over here. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to take the circle and probably just overlap it with this rectangle, this triangle over here. It's okay to go over it a couple of times so that you get your perfect circle. Okay, now once that is done, I think I'm going to draw in another triangle, say about here, and I think that looks good. Okay, 4 is crop. So draw in a few shapes that are going off the edge of the box. A few of them are cropped in such a way that only a part of them is visible. Say about how about I put in a rectangle over here, but it's cropped, so it's gonna go this way, and then I'm gonna draw in a circle, but I'm gonna make an edge of the circle go off the box a little bit. I think this looks good. Then I think I want to put in a triangle over here that's slightly coming out, and I think I will draw say an arc on this side. Yep. This looks good. 5 is placement and negative space. So now if you look at my composition, I think it looks a little cluttered over here and a little empty on this side. So when you're making your composition, always make sure it's nicely balanced, that there's an equal distribution of negative space. So I think I am going to put in a rectangle, say around this much, this big over here. Okay, this looks good. I think this relatively looks good for a composition. So it's a good idea to draw it out a little roughly first, and then once you're happy with it, you just go over it and finalize it. So I think this looks good enough. I'm just gonna erase off what is coming out of the edges and probably go over the lines for myself a little bit. Ideally, all of this is supposed to be done freehand, but if you're just starting out, you can use a scale to just perfect your lines a little bit. That's okay. Okay. So now, once we're done with the composition, we're gonna fill it in with a good color scheme. You can take any of your choice. I'm gonna use a cool color scheme. So this is what it's gonna look like when you've filled in all the colors. There's a separate video on different color rendering techniques, so you can have a look at that if you want to learn how to color with all those techniques. So this is the final composition. I hope it was helpful, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and also make sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.